It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Super.
Hooray!
Just lovely.
Hope everybody out there is doing all right. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little. And I'm going to use my couple of minutes here, my 15 minutes of fame, for a plug. I am going to plug a comic. It's an indie comic. This is a book that was actually kickstarted last year, and it is called Lords of the Cosmos. The issue that was kickstarted last year was issue 2, and this was given to us by Jason Lennox, one of the creators. He's a pretty dang good artist, really, if you ask me, and some of the stuff he's written for this book is really interesting. This is an interesting book to try to describe. I've been thinking about this for a few hours now, trying to figure out how to describe this. The best way I can kind of describe it without giving anything away is it's a mythological style science fantasy epic. The first issue, because I vaguely remember seeing it a year or two ago, was a lot of introducing these characters. And these characters are they are kind of the rulers of this world that they're on. It's a little fuzzy as to what the world is exactly, but these are, I mean, if this was any other type of story, you would describe these characters, and there are a bunch of them, as supervillains. But it's, in a way, not really that kind of story, because these are like the protagonists. Needless to say, it's a very dark group of stories. This book has 3 or 4 different stories based on these characters and based on this large war that's going on. But it's just different enough. It's a different enough take that it makes it really interesting. And like I said, the art's really nice. So it is. I definitely recommend checking it out. Again, it is called Lords of the Cosmos, and this is issue 2. And you can get it nowadays on Jason's website, which is jasonlennox.com, and that's Lennox with 1 N. And I will obviously link it in the show notes, so you can go check it out. It's very cool.
Yeah, I remember the first issue being really, really good. I need to check out the second issue, but yeah. Nice little plug for a really good book and a good person.
Yep, good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool artist.
Yep. Okay.
I don't have a whole lot to babble about in my 15 minutes. I didn't know we got 15 minutes.
I was kidding
though.
about the 15
So
minutes.
much
No. No.
I will be better prepared next week.
Oh hell.
Now, I've been fighting technology this week, so I think I finally got it kicked. Yay! But yeah, it's been tell you guys, and I feel weird telling them too, but I've been having some computer problems, and sometimes that's just chase it down and pull your hair out a little bit, turn it all off, walk away. Do that or punt it out the back door. So, but one interesting thing I did do this weekend, my daughter-in-law's pregnant, right?
Mm.
And we went to a 4D sonogram. Oh my God. That's like amazing. It's like HD, and you can see like her little nose and her little chubby cheeks. And he's like, you see all these little wrinkles above her ears? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that's hair. But I mean, it's amazing because we've come from squinting, and it's like, is that baked lasagna or is that a baby hair? To where now you can actually see features, and so yeah, it was pretty interesting. They said she was stubborn. She kept putting her little hands up to her face, which made it harder for us to see, but we'll see her soon enough.
Camera shy at such a young age.
Yep. Now, she knew she was messing with us. So much you could almost see her smiling like, ha ha, you'll see me when I'm ready for you to see me. Let me do my hair and makeup first.
Now that she has hair to do.
Right.
Which is more than some of us can say. But anyway.
Right. I've already started making little hair bows.
Dang.
Yep.
Yeah, see, we have a sonogram picture of our kid, and it's hilarious because it looks like he's got his thumb up to his nose and he's wiggling his fingers at us. I mean, it's a still picture. He's not actually wiggling his fingers, but it's a perfectly good picture of his hand right up in front of his face, like he's making a rude gesture at us. And I was like, yeah.
Thumbing his nose.
And I was like, yeah, that's my kid, all right. No doubt about it now.
See, my first son, I had 3 sonograms, and each time they told me it was a girl. And if you notice, I said my first son, so they were wrong. But he kept like turning, like he was mooning him. So it was hard for us to see. But yeah, he was a little stinker even then. So I was fully expecting it with his daughter.
Yeah, don't bank on anything yet, just in case.
Right. Well, she's had quite a few, and they've all confirmed it's a girl. And like I said, with the pictures the way they've gotten nowadays, it's a girl. Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, for me, I located some Alex Ross work. Sorry about that, folks. I found Kingdom Come by DC. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Turned around and started reading Earth X, which is monumental in its undertaking, but it's fascinating work. Such a dystopian look at the Marvel Universe that it's been a lot of fun. So I've been pretty busy there just on those 2 items.
Yeah, you had to go track down Kingdom Come just to get warmed up for Earth X.
No, actually I didn't. But
it was coincidence. Huh?
It's coincidence, but because I was touting the Marvels last week from Marvel, I decided I wanted to find the early stuff and see what they had for that.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Ross.
Yeah. I hate to admit it, I have not read Earth X. I read Kingdom Come. It's been a while since I've read it, but I remember enjoying the heck out of it.
I seem to recall somebody forcing me to read it a few years back.
Oh, did? Which one? Earth X or
no, Kingdom Come?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I remember you handing it to me saying, this is awesome.
Yeah. But surprisingly, I have not read Earth X. Or if I did, I'm just not recalling it right now. That's something I need to track down myself. Cool. Well, I guess what I could start off with is we had our second fellowship meetup this past weekend.
Woo.
And had a very nice turnout. I appreciate everybody coming by and spending some time with us. I think everybody had a great time. Unfortunately, we had to move, change facilities for a meetup, but that didn't seem to deter anybody. And like I said, everybody had a good time. So thank everybody who came. And if you live in the Dallas area and wanted to come but couldn't, this is every second Saturday of the month at 7 p.m. If you go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, and click on the events tab, I've already got all the information for the March event up there. So go check it out, and hopefully we'll see you then. So we had that. Was catching up on reading, and I know I've touted this series before. I wanted to do it again because I had read what they called, or what they termed, the season finale. And this is Wrong Earth from Ahoy Comics. This was issue 6, and yet, unfortunately, it is taking a year break. It will not be back until 2020, so here it's a chance to go get these issues, or when the trade comes out here in a couple of months, definitely go pick this up. And for those who are not familiar with this book, it focuses on one hero that's in two different dimensions. One is more a camp type character, and one's more of a dark and brooding. And the example I used before was the Adam West Batman compared to Frank Miller's Batman, or like the Batmans we've had, like with Christian Bale and that kind of thing. And the premise is that they, through an accident, they switched Earths. So you have the campy in the world with everybody believing him to be the vigilante who will maim and kill, and of course having to deal with corrupt law enforcement and this, that, and the other. Where the dark and brooding one is basically in the Adam West world, or version of his world. And the reason why I brought this up is I was so surprised of how the book ended. And I mean, there's a little bit of it's kind of a conclusion, yet it's not a conclusion. But what happened, especially with those two characters, I did not see coming, and I thought, oh wow, this has just got more interesting. So I highly recommend this book. Go out and get it. I think you won't go wrong. It just, I don't know if Les has had a chance to read it, but it kind of surprised. I had one eyebrow go up when I was getting close to the end, and then the other one popped up. I was like, okay, wow, all right. So I was surprised, but pleasantly surprised.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's fun when they keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I mean, well, I tried not to have any kind of expectation of where things were going, and I wasn't sure if this would be an ongoing. So when they did what they did, I was like, oh, okay. And then the worst thing was it will return in 2020, and you're going, oh, no.
Right, it's only February. You're like, yeah!
It's February 2019. I've still got at least 10 more months to wait. So, who knows? But I'm sure it'll be worth it. I guess that's about it. So, before we get into this week's topic, I want to take a couple of moments to thank our fine sponsors, Things from Another World, for sponsoring the fellowship. And while you're on our website, might we suggest you go to our sponsors tab, where we will have their latest deals, which currently all they're running is, but these are great deals, they're a daily deal, and then they're 50% off Nick and Dent comics. And we have a link there that you can click on. That'll take you to their website. And you can also see what other great merchandise they have there. And that lets them know that we sent you their way. So definitely take advantage of that. And thank you, Things from Another World, for sponsoring the fellowship. Okay. For this week, we figured we would take some time to recognize a certain birthday that's going to be happening later this year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe it's happened yet, but it will be happening. So we're kind of getting an early rush on this. And something that kind of caught my eye when I was doing a little research about this, it's recognized by the Guinness World Records to be the longest continuously running movie franchise, with the first film being in production in 1954, with a new movie coming out later this year, if I'm not mistaken.
At least one.
At least one this year. And we actually had one last year.
Okay, yeah, it's one this year and one next year. That's
okay. And then we had one last year.
Yes, there were two last year.
Okay. So, and I am talking about Godzilla.
Ah, yes, everybody's favorite Raymond Burr movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kidding. That wasn't the first one. That was the first American one.
It was kind of like the first one.
It was mostly the first one, yeah.
It's the first one. It's the first one where they just sliced him in there, like he was standing there watching all this, and
like he was on the boat.
No, just standing in this small little studio in L.A. going, okay, this is what's going on. I'm going to report all this. Wow.
Yep.
Yep. Do not watch those back to back.
I would think that would hurt, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, so this is experience you're talking from. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, wait, you get halfway through it, it's like, this is the same freaking movie. See, Godzilla for me, it was never something I sat down and planned on watching, you know. As a kid, it came on Saturdays when the cartoons went off, and, you know, it was Godzilla fighting a robot or King Kong or, you know. So it was never one of those that, oh, hey, Godzilla's on tonight. You know? So I know a little bit about him, but I have to admit, every time I hear the name, my mind goes to that song. Oh, no, there goes Tokyo. Was that Blue Oyster Cult?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So anytime you say it, just know I'm singing it in my head.
As long as you keep it in your head, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please. I'm begging you.
But I will say, for it to be, 54, the Japan, and 56 for the U.S. release, I guess people today would look at it and go, oh, man, that was kind of cheesy looking. And to a certain point, they were. But if you look at the time period, that was pretty cool and, you know, inventive. Yeah.
Well, yeah, compared to what we witness in terms of special effects and all that, then yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
You go, how can people actually take this for real? But yeah, back then, yeah.
state of the art. Well, even now, looking at their special effects, like I said, it's kind of inventive the way they got around to doing something that now we've gotten lazy with and use computers for, So so that end of it was pretty cool. And I think out of all the movies, Godzilla has always kind of looked a little different, which was always kind of cool.
Sometimes there are improvements, and sometimes,
Yeah, not so much.
maybe not so much. But yeah,
Like a big little rock going down through the middle of Tokyo. I think out of all of the movies it spawned, the only one, and I did go to the movies to watch that one, was when they tried to say that Godzilla was an iguana that had been, radioactive, and he became Godzilla. And I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to buy that with a little T-Rex body and stuff that he was an iguana at one time. So they've kind of gotten off the track with some of their movies for sure.
they try to take the same concept and retell the backstory different ways. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to them for trying to make it interesting, but
I think they were trying to make him more relatable. This is what he normally looks like, and oh my God, look at the monster he turned into. But to me, it just kind of made it unbelievable. Because for one, I've owned iguanas, and but yeah, like I said, I guess it's kind of hit or miss. But they've had 53 movies, so it's all right to miss every once in a while.
Is it that many?
It's quite a few. I may be exaggerating
This
them.
says 35.
35?
I'm not 100% sure how they're counting that, but it says 35.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for the damn thing, so who knows, but that's what it says.
Yeah. So I had my numbers flipped. But yeah, still, that's quite a few movies,
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
And I liked the son of Godzilla, the little gremlin-looking dude they gave to him. That was cute.
Oh, please.
You didn't like the gremlin Godzilla?
Oh.
Come
Have
on.
to step on his tail to get him to puff smoke. Come on. I'm sorry.
He's just a baby.
I had such a bad time with that. I did see both versions of the first movie. Also saw the movie Godzilla Raids Again, which was the first sequel, and was kind of shaking my head going, now they're telling me that there are multiple Godzillas instead of just the one that they defeated with the air bomb.
Well, he told him if they didn't quit, there'd be more.
That was just setting up the sequel, wasn't it?
And
Right.
by gum, there was. Also watched Godzilla vs. The Thing, which was, as a kid, that was my favorite. But it was so frickin' hokey, too. I almost had to give up. I fought to the end, but just looking at the two larvae spewing webbing at Godzilla, and yet they didn't hit his feet. And all I would think is, just hit his feet, knock him over, and you've won.
Yep.
But the original was interesting in how they defeated Godzilla. of course, Godzilla became king of the monsters. And rightly so. He fought Mothra in the Thing movie. He fought with Rodan, Anguirus. He fought against Mechagodzilla. He fought against Ghidra. There were so many movies that came after Godzilla, and I'm talking about movies from Toho that relied upon the basis of the monster being radioactive. Radioactivity causing the monster to be huge or become three-headed, or, of course, being a flying turtle, which always struck me as odd. But I thought Godzilla, I still think Godzilla is a great figure. And the Toho, although they were pretty lame with the special effects, I think it struck the right chord and got people interested in that type of monster movie.
Yeah.
But going back to what you said, Liz, no, I did not like that character.
Aww. He was cute.
And that was the point, really. So, you know.
Yeah, pretty much.
See, I'm wanting to say that one. They did the same thing with King Kong. McDonald's had it where if you went and bought a kid's meal or went and bought an ice cream or whatever, they'd give you a pair of 3D glasses. And then, 2 weeks from then or whatever, the network would premiere a movie. And like I said, I think they did it with King Kong and with, maybe it was Godzilla's Revenge that they did that with. But it was kind of interesting because, everything was centered around Godzilla at that time, even though it was an older movie, but it was something different because they had thrown the 3D on it, which in the 80s, was so not like the 3D we have now.
Yeah, they're basically still using the tech from the 50s on that one, weren't they?
I think so, with the red and blue lines blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it being the 80s when I saw Creature from the Black Lagoon for the first time in 3D. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I never quite got it. It didn't faze me at the time. I mean, that movie's perfectly fine. It doesn't need the gimmick of 3D, I didn't think.
Yeah.
But anyway.
See, I think out of all of them, though, I think King Kong tapped into the 3D part of it the best. Or I remember it being the best, visually anyways. And when everybody was talking about 3D movies, that's always what stuck in your head. And it's like, I don't know if I want to go see that. So the first time I actually got to watch a real 3D movie on a big screen TV or, in the movie theater, it was kind of like, wow.
Okay,
where's the blurry line? Why aren't my glasses red and blue?
You want to talk random? There were, I believe it was 2 of the Three Stooges shorts that they did in 3D.
Yep.
Back in that time frame, back in that late 40s, early 50s time frame. And I mean, they hammed it up big time because Three Stooges, but
yeah,
it's funny in the how hammed up it is sort of way. It's as if they were making fun of 3D movies by making 3D shorts. They're worth seeing. They're worth checking out if you can get a hold of them.
I'll check that out. Because we have an old Sly Cooper game for the PlayStation, And it was 3D that used the red and blue glasses. So,
Oh, wow.
yep, we still even have some of those around here. Yeah, try explaining to the kids why the 3D glasses that they stuck in their pocket at the movie theater doesn't work on that game. Why do we have to use the little crappy paper ones?
Yeah, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Back in the olden days on the PS1.
So your privilege is showing.
Pretty much.
So, why do you think these films and this character is so popular? Is it just because it's basically popcorn films? Just kind of mindless monsters beating each other up and all that?
Well, I think when you look back at the 50s, they were building like bomb shelters and stuff because, wasn't that the 50s? They were afraid of the Russians and their nuclear weapons and that kind of thing. So it was kind of, I think Godzilla kind of played into that just because they didn't know exactly what radiation would do, and people are using these as weapons and it's making monsters. So it kind of stretched your...
Now, keep in mind, these start out in Japan.
Right.
They knew exactly what atomic weapons would do. They'd had it done to them.
Right. True.
So they had a different mindset about that than we did here. So which is why I find it interesting that these movies have been as popular as they've been in the States, given that it's an entirely different mindset. It's an entirely different set of experience that you're drawing from and reacting to and basically telling stories about.
Yeah.
Not real complicated stories, mind you, but still, they're coming from a different experience. Yeah, we were scared of the unseen threat.
Yeah.
They knew what the threat looked like. They knew it was horrific.
Right.
And they
Well,
thought,
sometimes not knowing is pretty scary too.
oh, it is entirely, but
It's kind of like getting your ears pierced. And you build up to it, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to hurt, this is going to hurt, this is going to hurt. And then when you finally get it done, it's like, well, wow, that didn't hurt. But it was that fear of not knowing that freaked you out more than actually getting it done,
Well, and fear of pain in general.
Yeah.
Most people fear pain. I am one. I do not have pierced ears, so I don't know what you're talking about. But that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy a movie about pierced ears.
Right.
About ear piercings or whatever. I'm getting a little weird with my correlations.
Yeah. See, I went with that one, just saying that fear, usually if you can tap into that because people don't know, well, maybe since we didn't know, maybe radiation will make an iguana look like that. So.
Hey, and we all know what radioactive spiders can do.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I think that was, because even if you think of like King Kong, he was like a genetic mutation of something too. Once again, it was tapping into that fear of, you don't know how you don't know for sure how Godzilla became like that. Sure, they guesstimated.
Well, I mean, whether they flat made it up or not, I mean, it wasn't it didn't matter that it wasn't necessarily realistic. That wasn't the point.
Right.
I mean, honestly, some of it was the point that we just don't know what something like that would do long term.
Right.
On a large scale. I mean.
Well, and it kind of plays into our actions have consequences. And, like you said at the end of the movie, if we keep playing around with things that we don't fully understand, these are going to be the kind of consequences you face. Today it was Godzilla. you know, tomorrow it'll be King Kong. But, you know, it was kind of wake up and look what you're doing.
Right, and as time has gone on, what the metaphor has been has changed as we've learned more stuff. I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
it's mostly a metaphor for environmental disaster.
Big time.
And I mean, that's not really that far away from what it was at the beginning, which was the whole atomic horror thing. But
Well, I mean, like right now, we've got, what is that, Fukushima, that's leaking radiation into our oceans. I mean, and we've already proven radiation can, you know, mutate fish and all kinds of wildlife and stuff. So there's no telling what we have in that ocean right now over there. You know, I'm not saying Godzilla, but
you know, all kinds of cute little three-eyed fish, though.
right, Blinky.
Like from The Simpsons, right?
Blinky.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of their message there, is you got to be careful because you don't know what you're doing, especially when you're playing with something as powerful as the Earth.
Yep. We like to think we're in control. We're not in control.
No. We're just one accident away from a disaster.
Mm-hmm. There's a cheerful thought.
Right. That's what I'm thinking, man. Maybe they weren't so far off with Godzilla. All of the Enrons and Fukushimas and everything else. What do we have living in our ocean? It's part of why I don't eat fish.
Yeah, right.
I don't.
No, I believe that you don't. I'm just not sure that's why. That's a convenient excuse right now, but it's okay to just not like fish, you know.
So, yeah. I think he's a little bit more believable today.
I think he's just bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how that works.
Hmm.
Well, what has the creation of Godzilla spawned itself in movies and the like?
Godzilla Jr., we already talked about
Yeah, I was about to say that.
that.
The little gremlin guy.
Thanks, everybody. Tip your waiter.
Well, I mean, how many actual disaster movies were there before Godzilla? I mean, I'm sure they existed, because every movie is pretty much a ripoff of something that already existed.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty much the kind of mutated creature craze, you know, like giant ants and spiders and all that kind of stuff
The whole
in the 50s.
atomic horror thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that generally came after Godzilla. Them was after Godzilla, the giant Gila monster, tarantula, all sorts like that were.
Was the creature from the Black Lagoon before Godzilla?
No, wait.
No.
When was...
No. Creature, I think, was like 56.
Okay. It wasn't long after.
So to me, it was a base.
Yeah. And definitely different, because 50s you had your westerns going on, and like your biblical movies and that kind of thing. So to have a weird sci-fi town tearing up monster was pretty different.
Yeah, sci-fi movies were kind of in their beginnings at that point.
Yeah.
They were still regarded as B pictures.
They were regarded as B pictures for 20 more years.
Well, it wasn't really until probably the first highly praised one would have. I mean, you could argue about Forbidden Planet, but definitely 2001. That definitely changed. I think that changed perspective, or the viewpoint of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we talked about that when we talked about 2001.
Right.
Yeah, and it was I mean, science fiction and horror were cheap and easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still are to an extent. I mean, science fiction's come a long way since CGI, but they're still pretty easy to do. And so that makes it cheap, and that makes it more likely to be profitable. So there you go.
Which of the Godzilla's movies were your favorites then?
He's going to make me say it again, ain't he? I liked the baby.
Son of Godzilla?
The Son of Godzilla. I think that's the one that sticks out in my mind the most. Maybe it was because the cute little thing they threw in there, you know. I don't think he was supposed to be cute, though.
Oh, I don't know. See, the way those things worked is, I mean, you start out, especially when you start out. I mean, Godzilla's he's the bad guy, but it didn't take them long to flip that over on its head and make him the defender, and they still managed to flip-flop it back and forth, didn't they? And sometimes he was the good guy, sometimes he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes he just didn't give a damn. But,
depending on the villain, yeah.
Uh-huh. So yeah, it's a little ambiguous at times, which is another way to keep it fresh and interesting, I guess, so that people keep coming to see the new ones. If you're gonna
So the original anti-hero?
I don't know about original, but
okay.
an early film example, anyway.
Okay, all right.
30 years before it became popular, but
okay.
To answer your question though, Les, I have to admit I've never gotten into Godzilla. I just don't particularly get into disaster movies. So the large-scale smashing of models thing has never really appealed to me. So I don't have a favorite. I'm not going to say they're terrible. They're just kind of not my thing. I'm sure they're very entertaining for the people who like them, and so I'm not going to knock that.
I was dating a girl in high school, and no, she didn't look like Godzilla.
Ooh, I wonder where else we're going.
Her parents went to Japan for a trip of some sort. They came back, and the first thing I asked was, "Did you see Godzilla's footprints anywhere?" They looked at me like I was an idiot. But
you thought you were pretty witty, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And they thought I was a twit. So
what's your favorite one, Les?
My favorite Godzilla movie is probably Versus King Kong. Just because of the myth of two endings.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen two endings. But when I was informed that that was bogus, then I was kind of upset.
That would have been cool. I wonder if that had been done before.
Putting two villains against each other.
No, I mean, like having an actual different ending shot for a film. And and actually releasing it that way. Interesting idea.
That is an interesting idea. Now I'm kind of wishing they would have did that for Freddy versus Jason.
Well, they did that with Clue.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you had large bank accounts, you could go see all 3 endings.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Or go buy it on DVD now or something.
Yeah.
That's probably the easier way to do it.
That's true.
Because I think the trick back then was they weren't like announcing which theaters had
No.
which endings, and so you
No.
couldn't know.
You didn't know until you actually saw it. Yep.
Man.
Which is that's kind of funny.
Yeah. That's kind of a neat concept, though. That's like, Brandon was watching a movie the other day, and he kept, like, taking the remote and backing up, and it's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's a choose-your-own-adventure. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
They're making TV shows choose-your-own-adventure? What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
it's Netflix.
Yeah.
Some that I don't remember what it is off the title off the top of my head, but yeah, I haven't
I
watched
think
it.
it's something to do with Black Mirror.
Oh yeah. They made a kind of a movie for Black
Yeah.
Mirror. It's a Bandersnatch or something like that. I can't.
And he's like, man, it sucks because sometimes it'll just make you go back to a certain point. He says, but some of the choices you make will take you all the way back to the beginning of the movie. So it's like, wow, that'd be my luck. Yeah. Gonna watch an hour movie and it takes me 5 hours.
Yeah, I can imagine having to go back and watching Son of Godzilla from the first.
So speaking of theaters, Les, how many of these movies have you seen in the theater?
In the theater,
Hmm.
probably about 20 to 25. Because
Wow.
I was real big into the multiple monster movies. So if they had Godzilla and Rodan, then yeah, I was there.
Cool. Yeah, back when they did that sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of cool. Honestly, not sure I could handle that kind of thing, but it's still a cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the past week, on demand, I think I've watched 6 or 8 of them. So,
Dang, you did your prep work, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Well,
these
there's-
are available on Amazon if you have a Star subscription. Like quite a few of them.
Cool.
See, I think I also saw 1 or 2 of these when, I want to say it was Casa Linda. Used to play the old movies overnight. And at the time, like I said, this is probably 25 years ago, but my son had colic, and instead of driving around, you'd go into one of those movie theaters, and they said sometimes, most of the time, it was something sci-fi playing. You know, every once in a while it'd be Godzilla, or. But I don't think they do that anymore.
They even still have a theater over there?
I think they do, because when we went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show anniversary, I think it was over
was
there
it
at
there?
Casa Linda.
Cool.
Mhm.
Sounds like the kind of thing that like Alamo Drafthouse and them would do
Yep.
every so often,
Yeah.
which would be cool. I think they do stuff like that from time to time at the Texas Theater down in Dallas also. I seem to remember hearing something about them doing that sort of thing. Doing like marathons. They'll show like 3 or 4 in a row or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're doing sci-fi or what, but
That's kind of the way this was. Well, I say most of the time it was sci-fi. It was usually just black and white marathon. They all had a theme that went along with each other, you know. One night it may be robots, or another night it was westerns, and like I said, I usually made it through the first movie, second one. If he was sleeping, I was too, man. You take it where you get it.
Still think it's incredibly cruel that you leave that poor colicky baby at home by himself while you go watch movies in the middle of the night. Jeez.
Yeah, I would take it with me. There was something about it being dark and cool and that booming that the sound makes. It would put him right to sleep. So that's usually what we did. Yeah. I think even to this day, you could probably turn on a loud movie and he'd go to sleep. And then when they quit doing the movies, I found techno music did the same thing.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
How we get from Godzilla to techno music, I have no idea, but
Well,
that's all right. That's part of the fun of this.
that sounds like something we would do.
Godzilla dance party.
Oh, I can just see Les out there on the dance floor doing the robot to that.
Doing the Godzilla. Come
Doing
on.
the Godzilla, yeah. With the little T-Rex arms.
Holy crap. We did go to the movies for the all-nighters at the drive-in, where they would start at dusk and the movies would go till the sun came up. So you would get to see like 6 movies.
Cool.
And a lot of those were the movies of the monsters. Let's show 3 Godzilla and them and a couple of other things. So we loved it.
That would be pretty cool.
You could back a truck in there and sit in the bed of the truck in your lawn chairs.
Your homemade
Just
popcorn.
take it all in.
Back when they used to charge by the vehicle, not by the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I first saw Star Wars, was at a drive-in.
Wow.
Yep. Double feature.
That's where I first saw The Shining. But anyway.
But you know, you guys said there was a new Godzilla movie coming up. I bet you anything, is it the Granada? The drive-through out in... it's out by Will's Point. But I bet they'll play the older ones before they play the newer one.
Could be.
Mm-hmm. And Les is thinking road trip.
Yep.
Hmm.
And then in between films, he can get out and start dancing. Do the Godzilla.
I don't see that happening, gentlemen.
What, the road trip? Oh, come on.
No, the dance steps.
Did you say what your favorite Godzilla film was, Les?
He said the baby one.
Oh, no, he said the King Kong.
He said
That's
King
right.
Kong, yeah.
That's right.
Liz.
This is the part of the show where he says, bite me.
And that's Enos, Texas. It's called Galaxy.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
I have to get out a microscope and find that on a map sometime.
Okay, computer.
A keyboard. How quaint.
Oh, cool. Yes. Oh, boy.
Yeah, so a lot of successful movies over a lot of years.
Yep.
Very cool. Kudos to them.
Mhm.
And
Not just
still,
movies, but games and comic books and action figures.
Uh-huh.
yep, a lot of merchandising.
And he seems to have the name that most people know. I mean, even if you've never picked up a comic book or anything or seen the movie, somehow people still know who Godzilla is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing, man. I mean,
Hmm.
he's no lie, he's the king of the monsters.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts? Because that sounds like a good way to wrap up this discussion.
No, like I said,
Yeah.
kudos to them for, like you said, the longest running series of movies ever,
Yep.
beating out James Bond by damn near 10 years.
Yep.
Mm.
Any final thoughts from you, Les?
Yeah, I just want to let people know that yes, I'm older than Godzilla. So
Not by much.
I was almost in kindergarten. So
Like I said,
Yeah, but
not
his
by
first
much.
movie, he was like 30 or something, wasn't he?
Right, he was older, sure.
Yeah,
He'd
he
been
wasn't the baby.
he'd been around at the bottom of the ocean for a long time, right?
Yeah.
He was
don't
awakened.
bring up baby.
Dang.
And on that note,
Mhm.
we are going to take a quick break and be back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for our weekly picks, and leading off is Liz.
All right. For my first pick, I'm going with a graphic novel. It's called Letter to Survivors. This was actually wrote in 1981 by a French cartoonist, which I know I'm going to butcher his name, Gibi. And it's just now available in English, but it's right after the post-apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic, and he's a mail carrier. And, you know, rain, sleet, snow, apocalypse, you still got to deliver the mail. He finds a group, a family that has moved underground during all of this, and he reads them their mail through like this tube. So as the book goes on, at first they were kind of like ha-ha little stories, and they keep getting like more serious and more serious. And so it's pretty good little book, kind of neat concept. Like I said, he's definitely got a job to do. I've never seen someone so dedicated.
Sounds interesting.
Interesting. Yep.
Yep.
Alrighty. Mike, you're next.
Okie dokie. My first pick is from Valiant, and I am picking Incursion #1. It has been an awfully long time, it seems, since we had a book featuring the Eternal Warrior. So, fortunately, we got one now. Yay!
Yay.
Yay.
And apparently, if you're familiar with the Valiant universe at all, you know what the dead side is. It's kind of where all the dead people go. In a way, it's kind of an interesting take on the afterlife. It's not quite really the afterlife, but so anyway, they're starting now to discover that there are portals that are starting to slip open in random places, and so stuff's happening and stuff's crossing over, and it's getting weird. And so our old buddy Jalad is on the case. He's here to protect planet Earth and the Genomancer, and he's just a really cool character. I like him, and so this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm happy to see him back, and this has a very interesting premise. So this it should be a fun ride.
Yep.
Alrighty, I am next. And speaking of fun rides, this should be kind of interesting. This is from Marvel Comics. Is Hulk Marines #1 of a 3-issue miniseries. And we have the recently returned Wolverine and Hulk teaming up to battle the Weapon H, which is the combination of these two characters that was born out of the Weapon X program. Enough said. This is pretty much going to be a popcorn book, and this is being written by Greg Pak. So it should be kind of a nice little beat 'em up book.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. And he's written Hulk before, right?
Yes.
Sweet. I thought so. I was trying. I was like, is that right?
I think he's currently writing the Weapon H book, so that kind of makes sense that he would be the one to be behind this one as well. So
kind of carrying on the story there. Cool.
Yep. So. Alrighty, Les, you are next.
From Aftershock Comics comes my first choice, Stronghold #1. Premise of Stronghold is Earth is nothing more than a prison planet. It is the prison for an alien, and the alien now has the identity of Michael Gray, an ordinary insurance underwriter, but he can cause destruction immediately. To make matters worse, the hero has fallen in love with Michael Gray. And to have their love to be born, they say Earth must die. This is by Phil Hester and Ryan Kelly. So you've got cosmic horror, adventure, and tragic romance. So I've got a feeling this one's going to click, and this is the time to get in on it.
For sure.
That does sound cool.
Yeah, this was on my radar as well, so I'm definitely wanting to check this one out. Alrighty, Liz, you're up again.
All right. For my second pick, I'm going with one from Vertigo Comics called High Level. Little backstory on this one, because the reason this one caught my attention is because of Rob Sheridan. Probably about 10 years ago, Nine Inch Nails was putting out a new album, and to promote this album, they originally started in a bathroom at one of their concerts. They wrote a website on the walls in there. Well, you went to this website, and it was an alternate reality game. There was like a resistance, and people came together and was putting clues together, and he would drop these clues at all these different concerts. By the time all of this was over and before the album came out, there were 17 different websites with this really totally badass story going on about, regular everyday people rising up against this resistance and, kind of working together for a common goal. Well, the guy who wrote this big 17 website game story kind of thing is the guy who's writing this story, which they say will kind of hit from tones. Not that it's based on that game, but, like I said, he is the co-creator, so it'll kind of hit tones from that game. But this story will start off with the Earth was destroyed and the humans have to rebuild themselves from scratch. And through all of this, they find a child, kind of like a golden child, and she has to get him to the high level, the name of the comic. So she has to get him there, but the only problem is is all the stories of people going to the higher level, they never come back. They're never seen from again, so you don't know if they got there or if they didn't. But this kid's supposed to be the Messiah, so she really needs to get him there. But it should be a good story. And like I said, if he taps any of the energy that he put into that story for Trent Renzer, this is just going to be amazing. So first one, get in now.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like the sound.
Sounds like
Yeah.
fun.
Yep. So he's definitely got an interesting mind.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. My second pick is from Zenoscope. And this is Conspiracy. This is issue number 3 of 5. And this is proving to be an interestingly strange little book. It's actually kind of hard to describe. But because it's the story, there is a story, it's kind of loose, but there's a story connecting all of this stuff, and each issue it kind of focuses on a separate kind of conspiracy theory type thing. And if you are familiar with conspiracy theory at all, you will understand why this issue coming out this week, number 3, is based on the Denver airport. I don't know if I could explain it effectively. Suffice it to say that the Denver airport has some very strange features that a lot of people believe have to do with conspiracy theories and with strange and weird stuff going on in that vein. And so I'm kind of curious to see where this particular series is going to run with that one. Like I said, it has been interesting in its own way, and I have liked this series so far. So check it out. You might learn something about conspiracy theories.
Cool. It has been kind of interesting. So.
Yeah, in a very sort of disjointed way.
Yeah.
It's a different way of telling the story, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Alrighty. I'm up again, and for my second pick, I'm going with another mini-series, but this one's from Image Comics. And this is Sharky the Bounty Hunter. It's Mark Millar's newest book. And obviously Sharky is a bounty hunter, but he is a galactic bounty hunter, I assume, because he is traveling the galaxy in a converted rocket-powered ice cream truck. And he's accompanied by a 10-year-old partner. And with this story, he is going after, quote, the biggest bounty of his career. This is kind of an intriguing premise. Be kind of interesting to see where things go. And of course, it's Millar, so it can go any which way. But should be a fun ride.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I want to sign up for this one too.
Alrighty, Les, you are next.
My next one is the DC Universe by Len Wein. DC Comics is putting out a title that carries, I want to say, close to 20 to 25 stories that Wein produced. The art is so far apart as far as artists go. You've got Starlin, Adams, Giordano. So you've got really established artists, and he takes on some great stories. Everything from the Phantom Stranger to Justice League to Teen Titans, Green Lantern. So this one intrigues me, and I think this will be a good trade to put on your shelf.
Yep, that's another keeper.
Yep.
Cool.
And our honorable mention this week.
All right, for our honorable mention, we're going with a Valentine theme. This one is called Love Romances from Marvel Comics. Short stories, 3 different ones. One's about can a robot fall in love? Is romance just a fantasy? And can love breach the corridor of death? These are love stories that can only be told in a comic book, so I'm going to safely say the answer to those are probably all yes. And they're going to show us how. So if you're not lovesick or hungover from chocolate, pick this one up. It should be a good one.
Yeah, this is the latest of the series of one-shots that Marvel's doing to kind of celebrate their 80th anniversary. We've had the Western, and we've had the War, and now we're getting the romance.
The romance.
So
Almost in time for Valentine's Day.
almost. That's
Almost.
all right. Almost.
Missed it by that much.
That much. That's right. Alrighty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
There is, by the time this drops, a week or so left on the Boston Metaphysical Society Kickstarter, so go check that out.
Yep. Okay. And just a reminder that we've got our next meetup being March 9th, Saturday, March 9th at 7 p.m. You go to our website and check out the events page, and there's all the detailed information. And of course, we have a Facebook event set up on our Facebook page that you can check out and register that you'll be attending, and we would love to see you there. Obviously, it's going to be for our fans in the Dallas area. I mean, if you want to fly in, we're not going to begrudge you. Come on, fly in. We'll be happy to sit and talk with you as well. But
Yeah.
don't think that's going to happen, and that's understandable. Any other mentions?
Nope.
I guess not. I do want to acknowledge a passing. I don't know if y'all saw this, but Oreo, the raccoon that was the model for Rocket in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, passed away last week at the age of 10. So.
No, didn't hear that, but bummer.
Yeah.
Is 10 old for a raccoon? I have no idea.
I have no idea either. I'm not sure what their lifespan is, but so that. Oh well, it's going to live on forever through those films, since it was the model.
Holy cats! If it's a normal raccoon, lifespan's 2 to 3 years.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
So cool. 10 years is pretty good.
Yeah, 10 years is really good. Yeah. Okay. We'll go ahead and do our regular shout-outs then. First off, want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. Definitely check their music out. We'll have a link in the show notes where you can listen to the EPs that they have released. I want to also mention the fine folks that make up Potter and Family for spreading the word of the fellowship. Definitely check them out on Twitter. If you're looking for a particular podcast, you're looking for something you want to just check out. Looking for a good podcast. Hashtag Potter and Family. It's all one word. And just scroll down, and if you found something you like, go ahead and download that and check it out. I also want to thank Pop Goals the Culture. We are a proud member of this podcast network. We'll have a link in the show notes, and I'll obviously have a link on our podcast page. Go check that out. There are several other podcasts that are worthy of your attention. Check out some of their shows. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be part of this network as well. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We appreciate your support. We would love to hear from you. We would love to have your feedback. And there are several ways you can do that. Obviously, email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net would get it right to us. Or you can go to the website, and there's a contact form that you can fill out. It's located on the About Us page. You can go over there and check that out and fill out that if you so wish. Please follow us on our social media, and you can contact us that way as well. I've already mentioned we were on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, and we're obviously on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. So feel free to follow us on both social media platforms. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, please feel free to do so. Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_geek. And I can be found at TomTCGeek. And wherever you rate and review, wherever you download our episodes, whether it's through iTunes, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, or YouTube, it would be greatly appreciated if you would rate and review our show. Thank you very, very much. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Appreciate your support again. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,